Hello, good morning. Gary Champion, psychic medium once again. Forgot I had those on. Uh, with another message that I hope helps. That's what these videos are for. I'm trying to help if I can. And my wife and I were sitting around. It's, most of these stories begin that way. Sorry about the lights. I don't really like to turn a lot of lights on, and this one's just not going to work. Anyway, we were sitting around talking about maybe what would you like to do that you didn't get to do in life. Not that my life's over, but academically, my brain doesn't really work anymore that way. I can't. One time I went through college, did it twice, and I could do it, but it'd be iffy now. Iffy's a funny word, isn't it? A lot of maybes and iffy. Anyway, we were talking about what would you like to have done had you not done what you did. That's just a terrible sentence, isn't it? And we started talking about psychology, and I said, well, I took some classes in college and abnormal psych and stuff like that, and I enjoyed it. And then I explained the reason I didn't go that direction was that academically I wasn't strong, and number two, there were too many rules. Psychology, to actually help people with it, you have to have that first degree is useless. You've got to get another degree to be able to have an office and be a big shot, which obviously I never had the intention of being. But I said there's just too many rules in it. You can't do this, you can't do that. If you step over the line here, you get censored. You can only say certain things. And with what I do, nothing's off the table. I can talk about anything, and strange things always come into readings that because I'm not in control of it, and there are no rules. When there are no rules, you get a lot more done. Now, I understand if you're going to build a building, you have to have certain code rules, otherwise the building falls down. But as far as what I do, it's psychological more than anything else. I said, well, I kind of enjoyed that. She thought, well, that's something I'd like to have done too. Isn't that strange? And the dog's going crazy on the floor, chewing this, chewing that, and we don't know why he's upset today, but it's a dark and cloudy day. Should begin a book with, it was a dark and cloudy day. Looks like night, but it's not. And I decided I'm going to exercise, ride the bike, and stay in shape a little bit. And as soon as I get on the bike, I pedal it just a little bit. Someone says very clearly, elephants in the tall grass can't see anything either. And I said it out loud. I don't remember saying it out loud, but she said, what was that you said? And I said, elephants in the tall grass can't see anything either. I came in here and wrote it down before I lost it, because these kinds of things from the other side are not, again, there are no rules in what I do. And I'm listening all the time. I never stop listening. So I hear strange things, odd things all the time. There was a guy around here this morning that died of an overdose of heroin. His name was Robert, and he's periodically around here, and I don't know why. We weren't friends. He was a terrible person to know. All his friends were terrible too. I'm trying to stay away from using the word asshole, but there I used it. I had nothing personally against him. He's just a terrible person to really know or hang out with. It was all about money and cars and boats and things, and we didn't have any of that stuff. We were just trying to be happy, as happy as you can be in high school. But he was around here this morning talking about a lot of different things. And he's telling me, and I'm telling my wife. Sort of like a reading, but it didn't involve her. It was, anyway, and this may be Robert. I have no idea, but he was around all morning. And very clearly said, elephants in the tall grass can't see anything either. And I left the room. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go make a video about this. And she said, what does it mean? There's the crux of the video there. What does it mean when someone who's in spirit tells you something and it doesn't make any sense? Well, it made perfect sense to me in the context of what we were talking about. Sometimes everybody needs a little bit of help. If you can afford to see a counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they can help. But most of the real earth-shattering things come out of you when you're just being you. You know, you said, did you hate your mother? Say, yeah, I hated my mother. And then, okay, that psychologically means this in the context of that and blah, blah, blah. I don't know if it means that or not. It's too complicated. But I do understand that elephants in the tall grass can't see anything either. It's like if we're walking around sort of dazed and we don't know what's going on, we're not really seeing what's going on. We're blinded as to what is actually going on. So a reading's a good thing to get. And at some point, she and I are going to, my wife and I, Anna, we're going to begin to read together, or Bunny, as you probably know her, going to begin to read together. I'm not sure where, but we're going to do some fairs out on the road whenever the COVID-19 lifts. And she's joining the circus. So as a person, not saying normal or abnormal, just a person walking around, often you can't see anything. It's just around the corner. It's just out of your grasp. It's just out of your understanding. And maybe you can't see it yet. Maybe it's coming around the corner. You see a puff of smoke coming above the trees, like in a movie, like in those old Western movies, but you don't see the train. So you're not sure. Maybe it's a train, maybe it's not. It's far away. You can see the smoke. You assume it's a train, but it may just be a fire. So the fact that you don't understand your life or where you're going or how you got to where you're at or how you can get out of where you're at is something everybody struggles with. It's not that easy. Easier for me because I hear things. But for the average person, when you're lost, you're just friggin' lost until you can find something to identify with to get yourself out of it. Oh, I recognize that rock. I know where I'm at. I know what I'm doing here. Or I know that house. I know the street. I know where I'm at now. Most of the time in life, there isn't any of that. You just stumble around hoping to find a landmark or something begins to make sense where you can say, oh, I know where I'm at now. I feel so much better. So readings are like that. Directional, what you need to be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. All those things come out in a reading. Health questions, school, love interest, careers, all that stuff comes out in a good reading. And this person who is in spirit from the other side may be Robert. And the elephants are tall. I don't know. I mean, I stood next to an elephant once, and it was damn tall. And they were giving elephant rides. And of course, I didn't want an elephant ride, but I stood next to one. And I said, man, this is. Oh, and I went to the zoo one night. I didn't tell this story, maybe. I used to know a guy that worked at Dallas Zoo, and since I'm an animal reader, he said, why don't you come down and I feed the animals from like 11 o'clock till 5 in the morning or something like that. I don't know what the hours were, but that was the gist of it. He said, you call me when you get here to the gate and I'll open it up. You can pull your car in and you can go as I'm feeding the animals and tell me something about each one of them. And then I'll know more about the animals and what the problems are that they're having with the zoo or me. So that's what we did. We went through the, um, and I remember it clearly, but I'm not sure that I haven't told this story before. Anyway, he's feeding some animals in here. I think there was a large ape that was up in a cage that he was feeding and talking to because he talked to the animals. And there was an elephant just beyond the bars, maybe 3 feet away. And I stuck my hand through there. See, you can't do that. You can't touch any animals because I'm liable. She said, but this elephant's talking to me. He said, well, take some food. So he gave me a ball of something in my hand, and his large trunk came down and sniffed around my hand and grabbed it and was gone. And he stared at me and said, I'm lonely. And I know I'm leaving the subject, but it's a cute story. And I told him this elephant needs another elephant because he's the only elephant here. He needs another elephant. I don't know, a few months later, some famous comedian, I'm not going to say her name, probably because I can't remember it. I could give clues, but I don't know who she is. And she demanded it to get another elephant to be with this elephant, and they did, and that elephant was happy. So anyway, elephants are extremely tall. And it's a safety thing for them. Out on the savannah, whatever, the grasslands, they can see tigers coming. They can protect their young. They have good eyesight because they're so tall. Elephants in the tall grass can't see anything either. So if the grass is tall enough, the elephant can't see any more than you can. He's lost. He's not confident. He doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know what's coming. So elephants are no different than us in that tension is created in us when we're not sure of who we are and where we're going. That's what the message is saying. That's all it's saying. I can't get anything else out of it, but someone said, that'll do. So, you see, I get directional guidance. If I'd said that wrong, they'd have said, whoa, back up. This is what really is going on. I think I've done that in some videos before where I'm saying something and they correct me. Great at correcting. And you can't have an ego about this, that some person who's passed, maybe long past, maybe hundreds of years past, is telling you what to do. You can't have an ego about that. You have to listen to it. And if you don't, then good luck. Elephants in the tall grass can't see anything either. So even though something that's designed to eat leaves out of the tall trees and protect its young because it can see distances, it can see lions coming, it can go this way, it can get out of the way. It's an interesting metaphor, isn't it? So everybody needs a little help every now and then, whether you see a psychologist, a psychiatrist, maybe you just have a good friend who has a better angle on things, because often they can be just as helpful. I mean, a brother, a sister, your mother, your father, your uncle, your grandfather. Grandfathers seem to know a lot of stuff because they're 80 years old. They've lived a long time. They've seen a lot of different things. Their perspective is out of the tall grass. They're above it. They've seen this before. So often just a grandfather can give you as good as what you're going to get by paying for it. Sometimes not. But readings sort of close the gap between what is and what can't be, or what could be. A lost person sees a lot of can'ts, or shouldn't, or no. Once you're out of the grass and you can see, the opportunities open up. They're endless, the things you can do. A lot of people spend their entire lives in the tall grass and never see anything. They're always lost. and they live lives that are stressful and unhappy. So if you can trust someone, give it a go. Often, if you just go sit next to your grandfather, he'll tell you things without you even asking. He sees the stress in you and says, "What's going on?" You tell him, and everything's good, or at least better. My grandfather's been passed, I don't know, 30 years, something like that, and he still comes around and tells me little tidbits of very useful information. So don't count. Sometimes your best advocate is someone that you know really well. Strangers sometimes work well too because they don't know your history and they don't have the closeness that sometimes you're so close to a relative that you can't speak. That closeness gets in the way of asking for help. Anyway, that was the end of our discussion. I came in and did this video, but it was about helping people. Basically, this is a helping people business, and she's always been in the helping people business, and how much alike we are in that way. And at some point, we'll begin reading together. So sometimes a reading can help if you listen. Everything I say, I can say anything and I say, if you're listening, or if you listen. Why? Because it's true. Someone can give you great advice. Don't run that car at 180 miles an hour all day or it'll blow up. Yeah. No fear, no regret, no anger. Thanks for watching.